Today I'm going to try something new. I'm doing a video interview with a member of Psychoprism, a prog power band out of the East Coast, USA. Jess, the lead vocalist, has agreed to answer questions that I send him. So I recorded some video questions and sent them to him on Facebook Messenger, and he has taken the time to record some video messages back answering my questions. And it looks like he did that while he was at work on his breaks. So it's kind of interesting and neat, and just shows you what kind of a cool guy he is to take the time to do this for his fans. So Psychoprism's new album is Creation, in my top 3 of the year for 2016, possibly the best album of the year for me. I don't say it is yet because we still have a few months to go, but right now it's sitting on the top. It's that good. Musically, awesome. Vocally, awesome. It's just a great album. They do have a little EP available as well called Bloodlines that you can get. I believe you can get both of them still from the band. And I will get that merch links and information attached to this YouTube video, and also on my Facebook page as well. So anyway, without any more gabbing from me, here is the interview. Who was the one that came up with the name Psychoprism? And is there a meaning behind that? And if so, what does it mean?
What's up, John? Let's see, question number 1. Psychoprism, the name. Variations of psycho, variations of expression. So if you take Psychoprism, remove the word prism, which is an anointing oil, you're left with psycho, an anointed psycho. Psychoprism. Well, actually, you're not left with psycho, you're left with psyop. So basically, remove chrism from Psychoprism, and you've got psyop, psychiatric operations. Or was that psychological operations? You can't tell the difference. So if you take chrism out of Psychoprism, you've got psyop. Because all the stories are actually true. Every one of the songs is about a true story. And the depth of what's going on, it's like stealing home plate, man. Psychoprism songs are like stealing home plate.
When was the band formed? And who played the most critical role in putting the band together? Was it a situation where it was a group of you guys that were friends, or people that you knew of? Or is it something that you had to hold auditions for to get the right members together in the band?
The band came together. Well, I had a bad week. Bill Visser had a bad 10 years. So I saw his ad in Craigslist. I was looking for a band, but I saw him looking for a band also. I didn't know him personally, but I remembered him because I saw his old band playing somewhere, and I'm like, all right, let me just, Google him. Killer player. Dude put claws into the chords, man. Really gripped those chords. I was like, wow. Solos aside, where's the song? So the songs are just killer stuff, and I'm like, I would sing them totally differently. They had a girl singer. So I answered an ad. He goes, do you have any files? Something I could send him. Well, there were a few people I'd kind of jammed with. I always been making efforts, and we had a second take improv of a song called Falling Down that we just made up on the spot. It was with some guys I met on Craigslist and some guys somewhere else, but I can send you that file. It was killer. It was a killer song that we made up. He really liked it. He responded, Jeff Tate sounding, whatever. And then he took his ad down. So from that point on, we met, recorded the first Defiance, and started looking for people. It seemed to work. We both were Koi-Kon fighters. He had his black belt a long time ago in Japanese style. So it was a Japanese style fighting system that we had in common. So I knew, that just told me even for more that he was for real. Plus, I'd heard of his instructors, and I heard of the places that they went, the after-hour training sessions and stuff. So, yeah, he was the real deal. Very nice guy. His wife was very nice. Great dogs. Very accommodating. I really wasn't used to that. His tolerance level was excessive. I was always used to a lot of hotheads. He was very knowledgeable, knew his stuff. never went crazy. Very low-key guy. I was almost unfamiliar with it. So we joined forces, hit the song, me and him, with a drum machine, and we sent out thousands of emails and stuff. Kevin showed up. Adam joined from Texas. And the original bass player we had actually called in Adam from Texas. So that was pretty cool. We're on our third bassist now. Everybody else has been the same. Bill had known Kevin from a prior band or prior situation. Nobody knew Andy, the first bass player. He called in Adam. Then we met Jerry at our first Fates gig. Once we met Jerry at our first Fates Warning show, I hit him in the face with a shirt. And he was the first guy I ever hit square face. And the first shirt I ever threw, hit a guy square in the face. Ever since, he had a little internet radio show, and we pulled him on as our manager. Going back into work. As far as auditions, Kevin used to just play every week. He'd show up and substitute for the drum machine. Adam auditioned over an email from Texas, and Andy, the original bass player, actually came in and we jammed with him.
How old are you and the rest of the guys in Psychoprism? Outside of Psychoprism, what do each of you do for employment? And how difficult is it for you when you do have a show that comes up, or even in a case where you might have a 2 or 3 day stretch where you play shows, to get time off from work to do those shows?
I am 44. The other guys in the band are, maybe there's one older than me. Bill's younger than me. He's like 38 or something. I work as either per diem registered cardiac sonographer or vascular technician. Basically, you just interrogate the body with sound waves, determining diameters, pressures, and valve function. Also, making sure muscles are working correctly and pressure is being distributed where it should be. All that kind of crap. Cardiovascular sonography and basically peripheral vascular technician. Bill owns his own landscaping company. Adam, he has his master's of science in biochemistry. He goes around to different colleges updating and doing quality assurance tests in all of their medical labs and Ivy League schools. That's a cool job. I'm locked down in one spot. He gets to go all over the place. Eric, I think Eric works for Cablevision, so he's running all over the place as well. Kevin is yardman. He works, makes big wood deliveries and stuff, pallets of building materials, stuff like that. I wouldn't want to do that. Also an associate degree and bachelor degree instructor at Eastwood College that trains the technicians for the areas to go out and work in most of the hospitals or, private institutions. I do that also. As far as getting out to actually gig, always seems like it's a pain in the ass. It's getting easier. It's got to be worth it. We got to pick our shows. People have to take off work, got to make room for the family and for the dogs and all that stuff. So once we establish the show is worth it at this point, it's got to be worth taking off work and doing all this other stuff. It's in our blood. So we will do what we have to make it happen. It's like telling the eagle not to soar or the peregrine falcon not to dive bomb at 200 miles an hour. We're like the fiberglass racing boat that if it hits one ripple, the whole thing explodes into pieces. Hasn't happened yet. But I think it's kind of like, you get these crazy people doing stuff because they're adrenaline junkies. Playing in the band's really, it's like an adrenaline junkie. Love it. Love it. Nothing hurts. It's just awesome.
When you and I have talked in the past, I've stressed that your vocal style is something different from what I'm used to hearing. I hear some Jeff Tate in there, and honestly, lately I hear a little bit of John Arch from early Fates Warning. I'm just kind of curious what kind of a role those early bands like Queensryche and then Fates Warning, maybe even Omen, some of those early heavy metal bands from the 80s played in developing your vocal style. And if not those bands, what other bands might have been pivotal in helping create your vocal style?
I'd say as soon as I started playing with other musicians, I found that those were the vocal styles that were kind of going along, or those were the styles that would complement what's going on. So I ended up as a progressive type singer. But the first song I ever sang was the theme to The Greatest American Hero. It was old TV show, The Greatest American Hero. That was the first song I sang. And I was also about 5 years old. I actually recently found it on tape. I'm actually in key for a 5-year-old kid. It's really not bad. But I'd say one of my favorite bands growing up was Duran Duran. I distinctly remember getting beat up in 7th grade by the Van Halen fans telling me to not wear a Duran Duran shirt. However, Lauren Toomer would talk to me. She was one of the popular girls, and she would never talk to me, but then I wore a Duran Duran. She's like, that shirt cranks. So, thus the dilemma. The dilemma was, should I wear a different shirt to appease the people beating me up, or should I keep wearing the Duran Duran shirt so that Lauren would keep talking to me? So what I decided to do was two things. First of all, I would wear the Van Halen shirt, but I'd wear it under like a button up, so if I see those kids, I'd just zip up or something. So Lauren Toomer knew that I'm a Duran Duran fan. Then the other thing I would do is, when I was in classes with these other morons, I would wear a Van Halen shirt, but I would listen to Duran Duran on my Walkman. But it was then also, I heard a Twisted Sister, some other stuff. But it was my brother that really brought home the metal tapes. Then I was like, holy crap. But I've always been one that is, that can adapt to what's going on. So I would just say I've been really around more progressive and more metal type players and power metal type players, so I just adapted to that style of singing most. Fairly simple. You hear a song, you just, let your mind free, and you actually can hear the song. So it's kind of like the song writes itself. If you meditate deeply enough, you can hear yourself singing it. That's what I do.
What type of music did you listen to growing up, whether it was metal or regular music? Can you remember what the first metal band was that really got you into the whole metal genre? And if so, what album by that band was it that grabbed you enough to pull you into the genre? And were any of those bands that you grew up listening to responsible for influencing either anything with you or with the band?
I remember we're little kids. We're at the mall, we're with my grandparents, and my mother told me to go into a record store and pick out a tape. So, whatever, or maybe I begged or something, I don't know. But I ended up with, I saw a little red person on a kind of a purplish album. Turned out to be Black Sabbath, Born Again. I listened to it on the way back in the car in my brother's Walkman. Scared the hell out of me. Like, I almost told my mother, I'm like, we have to return this, just boo-doo-doo, 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 boo-doo-doo. Like, it was just wild, Like, that was my first experience with Sabbath. There was another one, we ended up in a car. It was a friend of my brother's. It was my brother's friend's friend. It was my brother's friend's older brother's friend. So, we ended up in it, I was probably, 12. Ended up in a... had to be like a 1980 Cadillac. We're all stuffed in the back, a couple up front, and we're out on Route 80, and they started playing what was The Wizard. So that was my first experience hearing Ozzy. They're both horrifying, spooky stuff. I remember I had a Cars album I'd gotten for my confirmation, Heartbreak City. I listened to that a lot. Had a lot of Duran Duran albums, Seven and the Ragged Tiger especially. Used to listen to radio, stuff like that, but my tapes at the time that I listened to a lot. Then my brother, he had a radio. My mother got him one of those boom boxes, and he ended up, I heard it down the street. I just heard, he was with his friends, and we heard that, Master, Master. And I was like, what the heck's that? Ends up Master of Puppets. So he kept hiding the tape from me, but eventually I got my hands on it. I was definitely a metal fan then. Testament, I listen to a lot. Practice What You Preach, I listen to that a lot. Overkill, I believe it was Hello from the Gutter. One of them I listened to a lot. No, with Wrecking Crew on it. Wrecking Crew. I listened to that a lot. My friend Damien, he was a bass player in a thrash band. It just seemed like a lot of, lot of people I hung out with had musical instruments, coincidentally, and they would just jam and stuff, and I'd be hanging out, and nobody was a singer, so that's kind of how I started. And then it just kept progressing periodically here and there. Then I got my hands on a Dream Theater album, Images and Words. That's what changed everything. One of my biggest influences and favorite singers, James LaBrie. I really like his side project, James LaBrie, like Static Impulse and stuff like that. You know, you could just tell when someone's just, you know, less constrained or, you know, whatever. One of the most critical records ever was Kiss Destroyer. My mother rewarded us for still being in the car after she did insurance physicals on Strangers for 8 hours. So picked up a bunch of guys on top of a burning hill. Do it all the time. My father's record player, listened to it all the time. My mother used to punish me by taking it away from me. So Kiss Destroyer, definitely #1 record. You know, killer stuff. Loved it. We built a Kiss guitar out of a bucket top, a stick, bunch of thumbtacks, strings, a cat leash to my bed. My bed was the amp, and I just used to thrash around. Detroit Rock City. Yeah, wild stuff. But that's pretty much all of them. As far as other albums go, stuff like that, I think you could hear like Duran Duran and Dream Theater kind of mixed in when I land on notes, put a lot of tone in it, kind of open it up. That's kind of Duran Duran stuff. I was also a fan of hardcore rap. So basically I had a lot of Ice-T albums back in the 80s. Ice-T, right? Yeah, mainly him. Suicidal Tendencies, love Suicidal Tendencies. Really, the Lights Camera Revolution album was pretty much it for me in regards to them, as far as just writing stuff that's a little off the wall. You wouldn't know if crazy if Charles Manson was eating Fruit Loops on your front porch. Suicidal Tendencies kind of taught me you can sing anything. But, you know, you don't have to curse. You just have to make it dramatic. Pro wrestlers. Huge pro wrestling fan. First and foremost, I was mainly a pro wrestling fan that kind of got into singing because all his friends had instruments, you know? And, you know, I think I just back-engineered it. I think my passion trumped technique. I backdoored it. Well, singing thing, I think I just kind of backdoored the whole process. Any stuff that kind of helped me out in the situations we're in, I'd hear from people that I was playing with, oh, check this out, check that out. Next thing I'm like, King Diamond. I'm like, what? Any of my real attempts to look for things, everything comes to me. You know, I just let things fall in my lap, pretty much. But I always put myself in a position for it to land on me. Really don't substantially go out of my way to do anything. Any disaster in my life has always turned into a blessing in disguise. So I question nothing and then just enjoy the process between things making sense. Primarily I was a young weightlifter, power lifter, and back in the 80s we used to a group of us used to train together, and somebody put on heavy metal in the gym, Metallica and Anthrax and Slayer. Next thing you know, we just got stronger. Something about that rush that comes with metal that you can apply. Instead of fighting or moshing, we just took it out on weights. That was it. It was a couple nights a week, Friday nights, all metal. It was all metal all night. So I became a metal fan, not as a singer or a musician. I became a metal fan as a power lifter and a bodybuilder and a bouncer and a banger and just a hellraiser, man. First time I ever heard Maiden, one of my brother's friends had called up looking for somebody to take an extra ticket. He goes, you ever heard of Maiden? I said, no. And he goes, it's your ticket. Seventh Son of the Seventh Son tour was the first time I ever heard of Maiden. And I saw him live. And the first time I ever saw Metallica, I'd heard it on my brother's radio, but it was Monsters of Rock in 88 or 89. They played second after Kingdom Come. The entire mezzanine poured into general admission. Huge mosh pits. Looked like one massive piece of cheese, and the pits were the Swiss. So it was like a massive piece of Swiss cheese, and all the holes were the pits. It was crazy. I was scared. We're the only two that were under the scoreboard, didn't get burned all day long watching these guys. Before I was into metal, I really liked psychedelic trance, industrial, stuff like that. I really started off as a keyboard player and very atonal, industrial kind of stuff. Nobody could play with me. He was asking, what key's it in? What's the tempo? I'm like, I don't know. It goes like this. and they were very chord structured. And from what I found out, it was very atonal. It was like atonal with harmonic minor qualities or something like that. So jumping between keys and trying to figure it out for very structured people was too complicated. Most of the first songs I ever learned going to parochial school were all church hymns. They had some good melodies and stuff, you know. But church hymns, lots of them, lots and lots. Most songs I know were church hymns. I'm not really a cover singer per se, but we knew a hell of a lot of church hymns. I used to be an altar boy too, so I was exposed to a lot of the progressions and the melodies.
Psychoprism plays a mix, in my opinion, of power progressive metal. I was just kind of curious if there are styles of metal that you listen to more frequently than others. Are there any styles of metal that you just absolutely will not listen to? And if so, what style of music do you listen to the most? What style of music do you listen to the least? And which maybe do you refuse to listen to at all?
Pretty much listen to any style, as long as it's believable. You know, you can tell if somebody's, you know, a good story. You know, what's it about? You can tell the difference between somebody that means it and somebody that's just like singing about dragons and stuff, you know? As far as things I don't prefer songs about profanity, drinking and meeting girls and treating them like hoes. Subject matter is relatively important to me. It should be something interesting. It should be something relatively unbiased that you can interpret. Most of the time, the more devious my songs are, the less interpretable they are. Once again, a lot of true stories, kind of stories that are on your don't do this twice list. So, you know, a lot of the names have been switched to protect the identities of the guilty. So it's interpretable. I would definitely want to do a lot more haunting, scary stuff, aggressive, extreme emotional stuff. Make your hair stand on end and make you feel like you're gonna go out of body. That's good stuff. Like, I'm not an Eminem fan, but I Google a lot of his stuff. I like his live performances on it because it's all real stuff. I think I'm just attracted to, you know, what's real, which I think a lot of it really should be, you know. Talk about energy not being able to be created or destroyed, only changing forms. So you can take a disaster or a love loss or the most wonderful thing in the world and just change the energy into a song, into vocals, into a different expression. That way you can tell what level of energy did the song come from. Was it just a bunch of crap, some guy talking about feeding pigeons? Or was it about, you know, dude, I almost got killed 3 times in 1 week and it's still going on? That's the kind of stuff I think you can't fake. You know? Can't fake it. So that's what attracts me to that style or effort, the effort involved. I think that the effort you put into the song should reflect the effort and the energy that it came from, you know? As far as styles that I don't prefer or I don't like, whatever's lame. Whatever is lame, I don't like. It could be anything. But if it's just lame, limp duck stuff, what really makes me laugh is these people that think they're geniuses because they make their own beats. Guess what? Geniuses create satellites that orbit other planets and map the surfaces. That's a genius, not some guy hitting little keys. Bah, bah, bah. Sorry, I don't consider a genius somebody who samples somebody who actually played something. I'm going to push these buttons so I could sound like that guy on that thing that took him years to figure out how to play. I don't got that kind of time. The only free time I got, we're all stoned.
Where are you from originally? I know that you currently reside on the East Coast, but are you actually from where you live now, or did you move there when you were younger? And then in the future, do you see yourself ever moving away from that area of the country? If so, is there a part of the country that you are maybe interested in ever moving to? And where would that be?
I've always lived on the East Coast. If I were to move somewhere, probably somewhere near the ocean or the mountains. Probably I would like a big cliff that a mansion on a cliff overhanging the ocean. There also has to be frequent UFO activity observed there. So it would have to be a mansion on the cliff near the ocean and mountains where I could view UFO activity. And maybe Bigfoot.
I grew up in Nebraska, and in the 80s, in the Midwest especially, trying to find any music to purchase was almost impossible. And I was just curious how difficult it was for you growing up to actually access the music that you wanted to actually go out and purchase or even listen to, because we didn't have the internet, we didn't have YouTube. You basically heard of music through fanzines. So was it difficult for you, living in the area of the country you were, to be able to get access to the music that you wanted to listen to?
Living in northern New Jersey in Bergen County, there's many malls around the area, so you could always go out to the Record Town or Sam Goody and look at everything. Then a lot of decisions were made upon what the people looked like on the back or what the cover looked like, or maybe once in a while you heard something maybe on the radio or something, or you heard it from somebody else. Older brother that really turned me on to some metal stuff, he would get it from his friends, so I would just look through his top drawer, see what he had, you know. I had lighter stuff, but once I got the metal, I was hooked. Also being from this area, just outside of New York City, a lot of radio stations around. My mother got me a little radio. I'd listen to it, and it was like a whole world. I'm like, what is this? It was like another dimension. You'd listen to the DJ announce the song or say what it was. One thing they used to do back in the day, they said, this song's coming up, that was this song. They'd always tag it. So if you listen long enough, you hear what you like.
In the time that Psychoprism has been around, what's the furthest away that you've gone to travel to tour with the band? Has it been anywhere out of North America? Have you traveled anywhere to Europe or, say, Japan? Anywhere like that? Have you ever toured for more of an extensive amount of time to different locations, like maybe an East Coast tour or a tour of 3 or 4 different cities? And if so, when and where?
Where we played was within a few hours driving distance, and the longest I've ever toured was as long as it took to drive there. Really haven't done more than one show in a week. We got 3 coming up in 1 week though.
Were you or any of the other guys in the band ever in any other bands besides Psychoprism? Now, if you were in any other bands, were you always a vocalist, or do you play an instrument in addition to singing? And if so, what instruments do you play?
I was in, non-successful bands or bands that just went nowhere, or you practice this long, you wait a month before we're supposed to record, everybody hates each other, band breaks up. But there was everything from every band that we had done. You kept your chops up. At least I kept my chops up. It was a failed unit, but at least I kept my chops up. So when it was time for Psychoprism, I wasn't really far off to what needed to be done. I've never really played another instrument the way it's supposed to be played. I've always done my own thing. I've turned it into like a big linear movement of weirdness. Started off with the bass, then I went to singing. Then I started off with the keyboard, then I went back to singing. I never, I backdoored the whole singing thing. My passion trumped my technique. I just broke through from the other side. The thing I love doing is playing drum circles. Love drum circles. Used to play, anytime I get in the drum circle, I'll definitely do it. A lot of fun. Hypnotic trance stuff. Anything goes.
I noticed through Facebook that you're married, and I was wondering where you and Lori met before you got married. And then is Lori into heavy metal like you, or is she into a different type of music entirely? Does she enjoy the Psychoprism, and is she able to come see you perform live? And does she come out on the road with you ever?
Lori and I met at a catering hall called the Brownstone. It was love at first sight in the Oak Room. Then, I got hit in the face with a whipped cream covered strawberry, and it was love ever since. Queensryche was one of her bands. Her records we just seen recently put in the garage. Ultimate Sin, she had Styx, Iron Maiden, like a lot of progressive. She had, some metal in earlier progressive stuff. I could take a look through them. I could probably send you what she had. I'll just shoot the video on it, flip through her case of what she has left. Goes to just about every show she can make, you know, with kids, dogs, all that stuff, work, schedules. But I would have quit singing a long time ago if it wasn't for her. She actually made me sing to her in a back of a diner one night over an old tape I had played. And of course she thought it was wonderful, so, you know, I started looking at Craigslist and met this guy I knew from a deli. Worked 5 years, nothing to show for it, but kept my chops up. You know, just kept going. You don't stop, you just keep going. The first show that we had played at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, of which we still have the #1 video for years now. It's the #1 top video that they have. That was my first stage show in 17 years. So I had a big gap, but from the last time I had played or sang to the first time I had come back, and then once we honed it in, it was like, this is a badass machine.
I've also noticed you've sent me a few video messages on Facebook where you're walking your dog. And so, being a fellow dog owner or lover, I was just curious, what's your dog's name? What breed of dog is he or her? And how old is your dog?
Yeah, walking my dogs is free time. You know, you can speak your mind without anybody else sticking their nose into it or whatever. 2 dogs, Molly and Paisley, both female. Molly is part Golden Shetland Sheepdog, and Paisley, we believe, is part Shepherd and like a Chow or something. Got Molly when we were first married, so technically she's my daughter. And Paisley we got about 5 years later. So right now Molly's 6, Paisley is 1, and you can see the differences in them. They'll play together, but Molly's kind of like, all right, enough. And Paisley like, let's keep going.
Taking a look at the new Psychoprism album Creation, if you had to pick your favorite track on the album, which one would that be and why? And then if you had to really look at it and say which one is your least favorite track, which one would that be and why?
As far as what's my favorite and least favorite, I don't know. They're all awesome. Certain times I like to play some of them live instead of hear them, and other ones I like to hear them play live, you know, just because, you know, live is a different animal. Let's say one of the songs on the album, I had lost my voice for 2 months. That I was responsible for one of the first delays. I lost my voice for 2 months, came back in, it was making squeaks, no dexterity, no flexibility, it was squeaky, very tough, very rough to start. I still think that I should have waited a little longer, but I mean, we're just so far behind anyway. It's just, you know, whatever. This is just part of the way it's gonna go, you know. But a lot of the vocals, some of them, a lot of the backings were a lot of improv. Bill has great ideas as a guitarist. He has great vocal ideas, and once again, when he and I converge on things, you know, it's kind of best of both worlds. You know, his world being very construct, very precise, melodically making sense. And then I come in with this abstract, off-time, in-time thing that's just like, wow, that works. You know, I mean, a lot of vocal lines and stuff that I'll do, yeah, they're, I guess, not traditional, you know, but, you know, look at me. You know, I don't think a lot of the things I care about or don't care about are traditional. So that's just another expression of that. I don't know if I could pick my favorite or least favorite, or at least I don't want to make it public. You know, each one has an incredible story behind it. It's all true. So, I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe my favorite song would be the one that came out best, that was most surprising, least amount of planning. And maybe my least favorite would be, you know, one that I think maybe I could have done more with.
It seems more and more lately that bands and labels are going more towards the digital downloads versus physical product. What side of the fence do you sit on that? Do you prefer digital to physical product? In which format do you listen to in your personal life? What are your feelings on the outrageous prices that some of us collectors, and maybe yourself, have to pay if we want to buy certain albums that have been long out of print, that we are just searching for, that we want to be able to own? And then, do you collect anything yourself? Do you collect music yourself?
I mean, when I had a tape player, I get tapes. When I had a CD player, I get CDs. When I had an iPod, I would download. Right now, my car has a tape player in it, and I've been listening to a lot of my old tapes from the 80s and 90s. I don't have a record player, but I remember records were cool because the pictures were big. You can kind of open it up, and it was like, check it out. Like Kiss Destroyer was like, wow, man, like cool pictures and stuff. Big stuff to look at. Download stuff, you have to have an account, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, update a credit card, this, that. It's a big pain in the ass. Not like the old days, you have money in your pocket, you go give them some money, they give you the tape. These were cool, but you know, you couldn't do like the mixes like you used to do with the tapes. You'd have to have a CD burner. So every time the media changed, everything around it had to change. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know, a physical copy, I could just pick it up and use it. I don't have to wait for a Bluetooth signal or a Wi-Fi signal or to see if my internet's not working or downloading or whatever. And when you had tapes, it would unravel and then it would snap. And then you had a CD and it was scratched. And now you have, you know, the stuff you download, and I'm sure there's problems with that too. As far as big prices for physical copies, stuff like that, you know, that's the price you got to pay, man. You know, it's an object. It takes up space. It needs to be stored. It needs to be put together by somebody. So, you know, if you want an object, there's always somebody that has to put it together and a cost involved with storage and everything else. Now, the rest of it's just, you know, iCloud storage or, you know, your computer storage. Instead of worrying about all your tapes getting warped out in the sun or your CDs getting scratched or stolen, now you got to worry about your computer getting a virus and wiping out all of your songs. You know, there's a problem with each one of them. Here's another thing. You can only get physical copies most of the time at the show. You know, you go to the store, there's no, Best Buy really don't have nothing anymore. Record Town's shut down. You know, Tower Records is shut down. Nobody wants to store the space for these things. I don't know if it's all down to a preference for digital downloads, but sure the hell is a lot easier. I could sit here in my pajamas and get something. I don't have to get up, get out, and go to the store and go get it myself. Perhaps if I suggest, you know, digital downloads promotes laziness, sure. I remember metalheads being very skinny back in my day. Now they all seem overweight. Coincidence. It's just a coincidence. Back in the old days, you'd have to burn these calories to get up, go out and find your stuff, trade them, steal them, whatever you had to do, make copies of them. Now you just sit here, do nothing, and get them eating a bowl of cereal. I wouldn't say I really collect them. I would say I still have a big Tupperware box of DVDs and CDs from my mother's old storage bin that she gave me. You know, big Rubbermaid containers. If that's collection, that's collection. What's funny is I still have, well, currently I got a car off of one of my coworkers that had a tape player in it. I'm like, cool, now I can use all my old tapes. They all still work. I've been listening to Warrior Soul for like 8 months straight in my car. So I guess if I have a collection, it would be everything that hasn't been thrown out from me moving everywhere, moving 11 places. So my collection is all the stuff that never got thrown out that my mother saved for me. Thanks, Mom.
I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had a preference, vinyl or CD, which would you choose?
If it's vinyl or CD, if I had time to sit around the house and all this stuff and listen to the difference in quality and all, you know, I hear, you know, apparently records are better, but I can't fit a record player in the dashboard of my car. So I listen to CDs. Yeah, so I listen to CDs in my wife's car or the Bluetooth, but I just listen to CDs because I have old CDs stacked up, so I listen to them. In my car, I got all these old tapes stacked up, so I listen to them. And I don't know. If I'm at a garage sale, I'll grab records, but I won't listen to them. I'll just go stick them in a pile somewhere. If I have like if I go to the gym, then yeah, listen to the Bluetooth stuff.
If you got signed by a major label tomorrow and you were set for life and didn't have to worry about finances ever again, what is the first purchase that you would make with your newfound wealth and why?
So if it is possible to still make millions these days, and if I got all this newfound wealth, what would I do? Probably swear everybody to secrecy and call my aunt who's a lawyer. First thing. As far as what would I spend it on, I would try to stabilize my living environment and close friends' living environments and situations like that. From close friends, I would have to do something with like a dog rescue, buy many acres and just make it like feasible for them to live on. Probably get a new car because I've got a 98 station wagon I could barely fit into with almost 200,000 miles on it, with an exhaust that's cracked, and when I start it, the exhaust comes in every morning I'm fumigated. I would probably just do initially the things that would satisfy me emotionally and that would shut up the people around me that I can't avoid in my life. So like pay all the bills,
Outside of everything else you do, work and the band, what do you like to do for leisure activities, either by yourself or with your wife? Do you enjoy reading, movies, TV, sports? If you like sports, what are your favorite teams, college or professional? What types of sports? What do you like to do in your spare time?
What I like to do in spare time, well, no specific order. I love to sleep with my dogs and my cat late, like 11. I like that. I like to go surf fishing. That's cool. I love the wind, the water, the vibe. The other fishermen you meet, they're always cool. Instantly you're friends with them. I like that. Not the meathead I used to be, but I kind of still like going to the gym. Trying to do that again. Things come and go. Yeah. I'm never in a rush due to poor planning and last minute frenzies from being unprepared. I would like to sit and have coffee with my wife. That's fun. And walk the dogs with her. I like to do that too, and ride bikes. As far as sports go, I'm not really like super into sports. Like, it doesn't wreck my day if some guy didn't get a touchdown. I used to bounce sports bars, and those people can be so annoying, it's unbelievable. Like, my team didn't win. But, I do like to watch the people that make the biggest effort. That's always good to watch. I'm not a fan of this. I'm like, but, who's going to go and make the impossible catch or the craziest performance? If I'm most consistent with anything, I like the UFC, I like the cage fighting. That stuff's pretty neat. That's a sport. As far as other sports, I'm not that into sports. Whatever sport it is, if somebody's making a substantial effort, I'll watch it. And as soon as people lay off and they start hanging out and losing their sense of urgency, then I'm like, you know what? So did I. Later, change channel.
My last question: if you had an opportunity ever to come to Nebraska and had a chance to look through all this, what is the first CD or vinyl that you would want to look at and listen to if it was in my collection?
If I were to look at your collection, I'd probably say, well, what album was the biggest pain in the ass to get, or what's got the biggest story behind it? What's the most bizarre? What's the most insane album you have for what reason? I would say, what album stands out the most situationally? And then we're going to see if it's reflected in the music. The story behind it. Who's got the craziest story behind it? I want to hear them.
Hey Jess, I just want to take a moment to thank you for taking the time to answer these questions. I know you have a lot of stuff going on in your life. I'm being married myself. I know that takes a lot of time, as well as having a job and also with the band. So I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me, more than you probably know. You've been really, really cool, and it's so impressive that you actually take the time for someone like me to do this. So I hope for the best for the band. I really hope that you guys get the opportunity to take it to the next level, to be able to tour the country, hell, the world. But at this point, it'd be nice for you guys to be able to make it out to the Midwest so I could actually see you guys play. And just the opportunity to come up and shake your hand and see you face to face and introduce you to me and be able to talk to you face to face. would be worth a lot, and that would be so cool. So I hope someday soon that happens, because it's been a great couple months kind of interacting with you on Facebook, and like I said, you guys have a lot of talent, and I really would not be saying that if I didn't mean it. I play you for everybody that I know. I play the band for everybody I know, especially anybody that likes the music that I like, and have got nothing but positive responses. So you guys are doing a great job, and I just wanted to thank you for treating me the way you've treated me, and as nice as you've been. I hope nothing but the best for you, your family, and the band in the future, and hope we can continue to correspond on Facebook, and again, appreciate it very much. Have a nice night.
It's a pleasure, John. I'm at this is the lab I work at. We're closed, just trying to finish these questions. If you need me to elaborate on anything, let me know, man. Till then, thanks for the opportunity, man. Rock on. Take care.